Family is supposed to be there when you need them most. That's what my mother always said, until I was the one who needed help. I stared at the hospital bill in my hand. $147,892.63. My hands trembled. How was I supposed to pay this? The car accident wasn't even my fault. My name is Emma Reynolds. I was 28 when my life changed forever. Not from the accident that shattered my leg in 3 places, but from what happened after. I called my parents that night from the emergency room. Dad answered. Emma? It's midnight. What's wrong? I've been in an accident, Dad. It's bad. Silence. Then, how much do you need? Not, are you okay? Not, we'll be right there. Just, how much? I didn't know then that my brother Jason had drained their accounts again. The 5th time in 3 years. Another rehab center. Another chance. Always another chance for him. When I asked for help with my medical bills, Mom's voice went cold. We just don't have it, Emma. You're responsible. You'll figure it out. Responsible. The word felt like a slap. I'd been responsible my whole life. Perfect grades, steady job, never asked for money, not once. Jason was the opposite. Dropped out of college, couldn't hold a job. Started with pills after a sports injury, then heroin, always promising to get clean. I hung up the phone and cried in my hospital bed. Alone. The next day, my roommate Tara brought me clean clothes and stayed with me until discharge. The doctors warned I'd need months of physical therapy. Might never walk normally again. You can stay with me, Tara offered. My couch pulls out. I nodded, grateful but humiliated. At 28, I was about to become homeless. My apartment lease wouldn't cover 3 months of no income. 2 weeks later, I got the call that changed everything. Ms. Reynolds, this is Michael Brennan from Brennan Legal. The driver who hit you was texting. His insurance is offering a settlement. I almost dropped the phone. How much? $2 million. The world stopped. $2 million. My medical bills covered. My lost wages. Everything. I called my parents immediately. Mom, you won't believe it. I'm getting a settlement. Her voice brightened instantly. Oh, Emma, that's wonderful news. How much? I hesitated. Something felt wrong. Enough to cover everything, I said carefully. Well, that's a blessing. Listen, your father and I were talking. Jason needs to get into this new program in California. It's very exclusive. Of course, Jason, always Jason. How much does it cost? I asked, already knowing where this was going. About $75,000, but it has the highest success rate in the country. I gripped the phone tighter. And you want me to pay for it? Well, you're getting all this money you didn't expect, and he's your brother, Emma. I closed my eyes, counted to 10, opened them. I'll think about it, I said, and hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I thought about my childhood, how Jason got new sports equipment while I used library books, how they attended every one of his games but missed my Honor Society induction, how they emptied their retirement savings for his rehabs but wouldn't loan me $500 for a security deposit on my first apartment. The settlement money arrived 3 months later. By then, I'd made my decision. I paid my medical bills first. Every cent. Then I bought a small, accessible condo that wouldn't require climbing stairs during my recovery. I set aside money for physical therapy, created an emergency fund. Then I did something I never thought I would do. I said no. I'm not paying for Jason's rehab, I told my parents over dinner at their house, the first time I'd been invited since the accident. Mom's fork clattered against her plate. What do you mean? He's your brother. Yes, he is. And I love him. But he's had 5 chances already. 5 times you've emptied your accounts for him. Dad's face reddened. You don't understand addiction, Emma. It's a disease. I understand that you've chosen him over me my entire life, I said quietly. When I needed you most, you weren't there, not emotionally, not financially, not even to drive me home from the hospital. That's not fair, Mom protested. No, it wasn't fair. None of it was fair. I reached into my purse and pulled out an envelope, pushed it across the table. What's this? Dad asked suspiciously. It's a check for $50,000. Not for Jason, for you, to replace some of what you've spent on him. They stared at the envelope, not touching it. But there's a condition, I continued. I'm not giving you any more, ever. And if Jason wants my help, he talks to me directly. No more using you as middlemen. Mom started to cry. Dad looked away. I stood up, my leg aching from the metal pin holding it together. I love you both, but I'm done being the responsible one who gets nothing while Jason gets everything. I limped out to my car. My phone rang before I even started the engine. It was Jason. They told me what you did, he said. His voice sounded clearer than it had in years. About the money. I sighed. I'm not giving you money for rehab, Jason. I know, he paused. I wouldn't either if I were you. That surprised me. You wouldn't? No, I've been a mess, Emma. I know that. I've taken advantage of them, of everyone. I waited, not sure what to say. I got a job, he continued. Nothing fancy. Stocking shelves at night. Been clean for 43 days. That's great, Jason. I want to pay for my own rehab this time. Earn it, you know? But I could use a place to stay for a while, somewhere away from my old friends. I thought about my new condo, the spare bedroom I hadn't furnished yet. You can stay with me, I heard myself say. But there are rules. I'd expect nothing less from you, he said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. 6 months later, Jason was still clean, working full-time, contributing to rent and groceries, going to meetings every day. We were talking again, really talking, for the first time since we were kids. My parents took longer. Dad came around first, showing up one Sunday with my childhood bookshelf he'd kept in the attic. Thought it might fit in your new place, he mumbled. Mom was harder. She couldn't understand why I wouldn't just share my blessing with Jason directly. It took her seeing him pay for his own program to realize what I'd been trying to do. On the 1-year anniversary of my accident, I invited them all to dinner at my condo. Jason cooked. He'd discovered a talent for it in recovery. As we sat down to eat, I looked around the table. My family. Imperfect, damaged, but healing. I want to make a toast, I said, raising my glass, to second chances. Jason's eyes met mine. And to first chances, he added, to the ones we should have given you all along. Mom dabbed at her eyes. Dad cleared his throat. To family, he said gruffly. The real kind, the kind that's there when you need them most. I smiled, feeling the weight of resentment finally lifting from my shoulders. The settlement money changed my life. Not because of what it bought me, but because it gave me the strength to reset boundaries that should have existed all along. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone isn't what they ask for. It's what they actually need. Jason needed accountability. My parents needed limits, and I needed to stop being the responsible one who always got left behind. 2 years after the accident, I was promoted at work. My physical therapy was complete, though I still walked with a slight limp in cold weather. Jason had his own apartment and was working as a peer counselor at a local recovery center. I kept most of the settlement money invested, but I did use some of it to start a small foundation that helps accident victims without family support. We provide transportation to medical appointments, help with paperwork, sometimes just a friendly voice on the phone. My parents eventually apologized. Not in so many words, that's not their style, but in small ways that mattered. Dad fixed things around my condo without being asked. Mom started calling just to chat, not to ask for anything. The last time we all had dinner together, Mom pulled me aside as she was leaving. You know, she said quietly, you were right. We did always expect more from you because you seemed so capable. It wasn't fair. I hugged her, feeling the fragility of her shoulders. I know. I'm proud of you, Emma, she whispered. I should have said that more. As I watched them drive away, I thought about how money doesn't just reveal who you are. It reveals who everyone around you is, too. The settlement didn't just pay my medical bills. It showed me who would be there when I had nothing, who would celebrate when I had something, and who would only love me when I could give them what they wanted. That knowledge was worth more than $2 million. It was priceless. I still have the hospital bill, framed on my wall. A reminder that sometimes the worst moments of our lives lead to the best decisions we ever make. Family is supposed to be there when you need them most. Now, finally, mine is. Not because I won a settlement, but because I finally found the courage to show them who I really am and what I truly deserve. Sometimes you have to break before you can heal properly. My leg, my family, my understanding of love, all broken, all healing, all stronger at the mended places. And that's worth more than any settlement could ever pay.